like that guy's probably lived one of the craziest lives in the world. Like, can you imagine what that guy does for a hobby? Like, he's probably out there like shooting bears, like with no shirt on. Like, you know what I mean? I
Shooting
don't
him, he's
know. Like,
probably
I just
fist fighting him. You know how Canadians operate. We love to do what you're doing right now. Have a beer with somebody. Let me tell you what, okay? Getting nipples pierced, easiest thing ever done, okay? No problem.
that's a good accent, man. That's
Thank you.
real
Not
good.
bad, eh? Not bad.
Should have been a cowboy. I should have learned to rope ride.
Actually, I have another way I want to kick it off. So if you could please divert your eyes to where you can see this. The mountains are blue for you. And here we go. Virtual cheers, my brother.
Cheers, buddy.
If you guys are listening, we do make this available to watch on our YouTube channel. Should have been a cowboy, which kind of kicks us off, doesn't it, Felipe?
Oh, it really does. It really does. Cheers, buddy. So happy to be sitting down with you. You're in Colorado. I'm in
Currently.
Calgary, Alberta. And
Yep.
first inaugural ever episode of Should Have Been a Cowboy. I love the name. I've had that song in my head for the past week since we thought of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I agree. Like when we talked about it and then we both were kind of like, well, let's think on it, like take it 24 hours, we'll come back to it. And then
Yeah,
literally got you on the phone that following Monday and you were like,
yeah.
man, I can't get this out of my head. And honestly, same way. Like it flows, it rings, and let's be honest, people want to be a cowboy. I want to be a cowboy.
Who doesn't want to be a cowboy? You know what I mean? Especially now, like with Yellowstone and everything that's happening, Posty jumping over to country. You know, I feel like the world is becoming cowboy. I've always said this. I feel like the world would be a much better place if kids had the opportunity to, you know, like yourself, like me, you know, to grow up around horses and learn all the skills and the life lessons we learn in the rodeo arena and ranching and just taking care of animals. You know, I was at an event last night in Olds, Alberta, talking about mental health and how it's a huge issue within our community. You know, we really need to talk about it more. But everyone that went up there, you know, whether it was Oren Larson or whether it was, you know, ranchers from the community, like people just talking about everything we've learned, you know, from these animals and from this way of life. And well, what just happened there? Did you just have a fly attack you or?
Yeah, dude, he freaking come right into frame. There's literally a sign on the door that says filming in progress, and he just barges in here like he owns the place. Ridiculous.
Works for Putin for sure. How are there still flies right now? It's freaking November 3rd.
I know. It's cold enough that they should be just done for the season.
Should be dead. Colorado, eh? It turns out
Yeah.
Colorado's Panama. But anyways, we're on these weaves like Donald Trump here. But yeah, man, I'm super amped to jump on this podcast with you. I was thinking about it today. Do you remember how we met?
I absolutely do. Yeah, dude. Calgary Stampede.
Tinder, but it
Yep.
was,
What'd you say? I kind of missed it.
I was gonna say Tinder.
Oh, he meant to say grinder.
Calgary Stampede. It's funny because I had seen Cowboy Cole on social media. He was working with Cowboy Channel Canada at the time, doing their content out there, and just such a nice guy. I don't know who came up to who, but I think we just came up to each other basically. Like we kind of saw each other after the rodeo,
Yeah.
and we just started chatting.
And honestly, shout out Brooke Martine for
Yeah,
kind of setting it up too, because same deal. I had seen your stuff leading up to Calgary, started looking into you, and then like just kind of being around Calgary, there was that split second of opportunity that you don't get a lot of times around that place, especially when you're there working and like with a big
yeah,
purpose other than just supporting the beer gardens on the tarmac, you know.
yeah.
And yeah, Brooke was like, that's Felipe, blah blah blah. Like you could probably get him now. And I just walked right towards you. But like we had communicated a little bit leading up to that moment, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice to like, you know, I don't want to make it weird, but like we locked eyes, we were like, hey, you know, like kind of an
What's
immediate
up?
connection. Like, what's up, dude? Like,
Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. Like I think I talk to Clarita all the time. You know, sometimes you meet people that you just feel like you know, whatever the reason is. You know, some people believe that we reincarnate and we go through lives with the same kind of group of people. You know, and there are things that you need to learn from each other or teach each other, and you come back whether you know you were my dad the last life or my kid or just a friend. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just funny how some people you meet and you just have that thing where you're like, I feel like I know this guy my entire life. Like I feel like I grew up with this guy, and I think I had that anyways right away with you. And I think our like desires, although we're cowboys, we both love to travel and we both, you know, enjoy the ocean and things like that, you know, just kind of made us feel like we were instant friends.
Yeah, I agree big time, right? Layers to us like onions,
Yeah.
except the smell. I smell great. I don't know about you, but but yeah, no, we did click right away. We went to Cold Garden Brewery
Yeah.
the day after Stampede or whatever and
Yeah,
got to
true
just
that.
like sit in silence compared to being at Stampede and just have a
Yeah.
couple beers and really shoot the shit and start digging a little bit deeper with each other. And it's yeah, I agree. You feel like you know a guy forever. However, we intercepted in the past life, I'm glad that these, 2024 versions of us have caught up too. It's cool.
Yeah, man, 100%. And I mean, I've wanted to do a podcast for a long time, and it just never felt right. But doing it with you just feels like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like we were supposed to record this podcast together, and I think like the way we vibe, our ideas, our sense of humor, and what we can bring to the table, just really it just builds off each other, really, just like when we're having conversations. And I think that that's what this podcast is all about, right? Like I think it's just two guys sitting at the bar having a beer, chatting about life.
Yeah, agreed. And we talked a lot about what this was going to be about. And like I've learned from past mistakes from just jumping in with both feet. And I know you've done the same. So coming into it with that mentality of like, man, we are here to just have a good bullshit with the boys. Like, especially being Canadian, you got to grow up in Canada, so you've spent a lot of time and now you're moved back to Calgary. You know how Canadians operate. We love to do what you're doing right now. Have a beer with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like
Hey,
sit
bud.
down, have a beer, get caught up, find out what's going on. You're going to learn something, and there's a good chance that you're also going to maybe teach something too, or maybe bring up something that they needed to hear and didn't know it.
Yeah, man, 100%. Like that, I went to school for journalism, and one of the first lessons you learn is like when you're writing a story, it's like just tell it as if you're telling someone at a bar, like as if you're telling your friend. And I think that's the best way to like to tell stories, and people just feel comfortable, and they may share stories they might not otherwise, in other platforms. And I think that's also a big desire of ours here with Should Have Been a Cowboy, is to maybe share stories from people you've heard before, you've seen on TV, or you've listened to on other podcasts, but maybe they're going to share stories here with us that they wouldn't have shared in other platforms.
Absolutely. And I feel like we bring that vibe of like, yeah, we are cowboy. We grew up rodeoing and doing that kind of thing, but like we've left to go do other things as well, experience
Yeah,
other places,
yeah,
experience other ways of life. So we're
yeah,
pretty open and dynamic to like just chat about whatever, whether you're dealing
yeah,
with something that you need to get off your chest or starting a new business, or maybe you are about to buy a 3-year-old that you don't know much about, whatever it is, right? Like we just want
yeah,
to chat. We just want to bring it to the
exactly.
surface. Like I'm dealing
Yeah.
with crap all the time. I have conversations in my head going 24/7. So I'm just gonna basically verbal diarrhea on you now.
And here we go, three
Mhm.
hours later. No,
Yeah.
100%, man. I think that's it's cool for us to kind of explain at the beginning as well. With this first episode, the inaugural episode of Should Have Been a Cowboy, is that although it's called Should Have Been a Cowboy, like we picked the name because guess what? We don't just want to interview cowboys and cowgirls. Of course, that is a big part of our world, and I'm sure a lot of the people that come through here are going to be people that somehow have a connection to the Western world. But we want to talk to people that whatever are firefighters, people that have found success in business, professional athletes, maybe some stars from what's the new the website everyone's on now that
OnlyFans.
you can sell. OnlyFans, yes, you should definitely get someone. You should get someone from OnlyFans. How good would that be,
That'd be pretty gold.
bro? Those girls are making more money than like NHLers. Like it's
That's
unbelievable.
that's the scary part. When you got a girl making 12 mil a month, and like that's honestly probably the high side of everything, but like the fact that that earning potential is there for being good looking and having titties, that's pretty dang crazy.
Being
Sometimes you don't
good
even have to
looking.
be good looking. If you got like some crazy
Yeah.
ass feet, people love feet,
Bro,
like
feet. I've heard of like guys buying girls' farts in a can. I've heard of like girls having propositions to send photos of their feces. Like shit is crazy, bro. It's
literally,
another
well,
world.
bro, but here's the deal, right? Is like we grew up on like Two Girls, One Cup. And that was,
Oh man,
you
are we gonna
know,
talk about it on our
bro,
first
like
episode?
all I'm saying is when the internet first came out, man, we were introduced to the wild. Okay. Talk about the Amazon of our time in terms of internet before everything was so policed and controlled and scanned by AI bots. They're not just scanning what you say, bro. They're scanning everything. Anyway, um, yeah, and now it's come full circle where it's like, oh, pooping in a cup made me 2 million. Like, what?
Yeah, it's insane. But it's funny you say Two Girls One Cup because that was our other title we were going with, Two Guys One Cup. But
Yeah,
we thought it'd
two
be too
cowboys, one
much.
pod.
But you know what, bro? Like it's funny you bring that up because I feel like Two Girls One Cup is like one of those things that like you remember where you were. It's like 9/11, Two Girls One Cup, like landing on the
Dude.
moon. Like these are historic moments that like
Yeah,
you will never forget. Like Haven 6.4 last year at
dude.
the finals. Like
Jojo Lamont going 3-3, and then Chad Masters and Jade Cor or going 3-4, and then Chad Masters, Jade Cork will go 3-3 like a team later.
yeah, you'll
Jojo
never
didn't even have
forget
his
that
rope
stuff.
off yet, bro. Like,
That's ridiculous.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's some of the things you can expect here on Should Have Been Cowboy. It's just two guys, having a good time and having to talk with people that that we look up to. I think people that inspire us, people that have interesting stories from all walks of life. Who are some people that you would like to interview, Cole? Like if you had to, let's say that you know no limitations. You could get anybody in the world right now to have us sit down and shoot the shit with us. Who would be like number one in your list?
Um, Shane Gillis. I love the guy's comedy. I like and have been a fan for a while, like leading up to getting canned by SNL and like kind of blacklisted by the whole censorship movement, and then having a
Yep.
huge comeback. I love and his podcast partner too, honestly, Matt McCusker. I feel like I connect with that guy so much. He's always talking about like deep stuff, He'll be like, "Oh man, I was like thinking about this, and so I started deep diving on it." And he just goes on this massive tangent, and I was like, "Man, that was literally me like 2 weeks ago." I didn't go on the deep dive, and I was like in my own head about it, like, "Oh shit, was that the right thing? Should I done that?" But so yeah, Shane Gillis would be right there, bro. What about you?
Oh, Shane Gillis is a good one, man. It's funny because as soon as I asked you the question, I started panicking in my head, thinking like, who would I pick? So the whole time you were talking, I didn't listen to anything. No, I did, but man, I don't know if I had no, I could talk to anyone right now in the world, I would probably, you know what? I'd like to have a sit down with Putin, just because he intrigues me.
Hmm.
There's so much that we don't know. Like that guy's probably lived one of the craziest lives in the world. Like, can you imagine what that guy does for a hobby? Like he's probably out there like shooting bears, like with no shirt on. Like, you know what I mean? I
Shooting
don't
him, he's
know. Like
probably
I just
fist fighting him.
yeah, exactly. So no personal opinion here. I don't want to get canceled on our first podcast ever. I would just like to sit down with the guy because I feel like there's so much that we don't know, and he's probably lived one of the craziest lives like behind closed doors that anyone could in the 21st century, like in our century right now.
Dude, the just being Russian and living in Russia is already maxed out. You know what
Right?
I'm saying? So
We
then
don't
you
know
add
what's that
on,
like.
it's crazy. So then you add on being the leader of that craziness, dude. That he's definitely has his nipples pierced, guaranteed.
Can you imagine? He just
How do you
like, I just
not?
love playing paddle and like piercing my nipples and just an ordinary guy, really.
He's like, let me
But
tell you what, okay? Getting nipples pierced, easiest thing ever done, okay? No problem.
that's a good accent, man. That's
Thank you.
real
Not
good.
bad, eh? Not bad.
But yeah, man, I think we'll get there, bro. We'll get to our X's on the map.
To our
I think
Putin.
that this is the first one. Sky's the limit. I think it's awesome for us to take this step and take that first step and actually record our first episode. But I'm super excited as to who we're going to be able to talk with, learn from, die of laughter. I'm sure there'll be some hilarious moments here on this podcast and just literally shoot the shit with people as if we're in a bar.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. It's gonna be an absolute blast. There's gonna be a lot of comedy on here, a lot of laughing. You're gonna hear multiple voices from me. Putin was just one of them, okay? Putin was just one of many that I have in this arsenal. So yeah, I'm
That's
really
so funny.
excited to just talk to people on a real level and get their real takes and real insight on what's going on in their life, how they got
Yep.
there, what's next, how they overcame things, how they undercame things. I don't care how you came. I just want to know how.
Oh
I'm really
dear.
excited
Oh
for what we
dear.
got going on.
Yo, and before I think what we should have done too right away, we should have, and we're doing it now. Who are we? Like for people that have
Hmm.
never met us, don't know who we are, don't follow us on Instagram, don't live in Okotoks, or don't know who the hell I am. Cole, tell us who you are quickly. We're going to do future episodes where, the next two episodes, we're going to deep dive into our lives. We'll do one where I'm interviewing Cole, and then we'll do the next one where he interviews me. So you guys can, if you don't know us, you can find out who we really are. But Cole's notes.
Yeah. Real quick, the Cole's notes. My name, stage name, professional name, whatever you want to call it. Cowboi Cole. Cowboy with an I. New
Stripper name.
school. Yeah, my strapper name is Cowboi Cole. You can find me at the Yellow Rose, Red Rose in Austin, Texas. No, I wish.
Oh, dear.
No, Cowboi Cole. I hail from Okotoks, Alberta, southern Alberta cowboy. Grew up there, born and raised just west of town, kind of on the way to the Big Rock, if you know where that is. If you don't, look it up. It's pretty cool. It was brought to you by a glacier, so that's kind of neat. But yeah, I grew up rodeoing and being around rodeo my whole life. I got cousins that steer wrestle. My dad used to ride bareback horses. My sister was very successful in the breakaway and tying goats. Mom ran barrels back in the Dizzy. And so that was just kind of my path and my trajectory growing up. Roped calves, team roped. Nowadays, I just team rope. I did not keep up with the calf roping end of the sport. That's a lot of work, more than I wanted to put in, honestly. And it's crazy how life comes around full circle because now here I am talking to one of the coolest individuals in the world who's ridden
Yeah.
thousands of kilometers by horseback. And yeah, I don't really know where I was going with this, honestly. That's a long Cole's notes. But basically
No, you're
nowadays,
good.
posting stuff on social media, just trying to bring light to the Western and rodeo industry in my own comedic way. I love writing jokes. I love writing sketches. And so I write them what I know best about team ropers, barrel racers, situations around rodeo. You know what I'm saying? And now it's led to opportunities to be on a microphone as a rodeo announcer, rodeo entertainer. And I've just fell in love with that, honestly. I've always loved being on a mic. Um, and it's just taken me a long time to kind of figure out that this is what I should be doing. So I'm excited.
Yes.
That's my Cole's notes
Yes.
on Cowboi Cole. Also,
Bro.
I love Hot Rodeo Moms, brought to you by Cowboi Cole. So don't forget about that at cowboycole.com. Felipe, we need the Felipe notes.
Ladies and gentlemen, hide your kids. Hide your wives. Hide your moms.
The one and only.
Yeah, buddy. I'm originally from Brazil. Grew up in Canada in the east, outside of Toronto, small town called Ontario. My dad loved horses and was an old bull rider, rode broncs and tie down roped and cut. He just loved everything about anything you could do with a cowboy hat and spurs. And so I kind of was born into that family and grew up tie down roping here in Ontario. And since then, I've crossed the Americas on horseback. I rode 27,000 kilometers from Alaska to Ushuaia, Argentina, yada, yada, yada. And today, my job became speaking, which I never imagined. Like, I'm a motivational speaker, kind of travel the Americas mostly, motivating companies and universities and different sales teams with my journey, talking about strategic planning and teamwork and all that. And super excited to get to chat with this guy now and do the podcast. And I think it's going to be a perfect fit for us because I think we're like brothers from different mothers. Like, although we were born in different parts of the world, like I said before, some about us just like hit when we met. It was like I felt like I known Cole for a long time, and I love the podcast avenue because I feel like a lot of people, while they're driving or on a long flight or working out of the gym, after COVID, this became just a huge medium, right? We see it today with all the podcasts that are popping up, and I consume a lot of podcasts. I know Cole does as well. And one of my mandates, like one of my big desires in life, is to show what cowboy culture is outside of our fence posts and our gates. You know, I think we're very good at talking about it in our ranches and within our friends that are from the rodeo and from farming and ranching, but we have a hard time talking to people that aren't from our world, and there's a lot of judgment that exists, and so this podcast, I feel like, will really help us get to maybe someone that's never ridden a horse, or someone who's never picked up a rope or never been to a rodeo, and they will be able to understand the love that we have for these animals, the love that we have for the earth and for the heritage that's been passed down to us a lot of times from our parents and our grandparents.
Yeah, I agree. I think about that a lot. It's like even up at CFR this past year, I didn't see them because I was going in that side door, but I guess out front that one day there was protesters out there with their signs and doing their thing, exercising their right of freedom of speech. And it's, it is really just a disconnect of not understanding what's actually going on inside that building or inside
100%.
that barn. And there's a ton out there that I don't understand. I don't go hold up a freaking poster board out front of their establishment while they do it. But and this is what traveling has really done for me, opening my mind to find a new healthy respect for those people standing out in front of that Rogers building when we're trying to rope calves and buck bulls and do our thing. So I really hope that, like, we have the opportunity for people to find this, listen to this, and gain a better understanding of what it is we actually do with the animals, with ourselves, in our industry. I just really hope that, well, I don't really hope, I know we'll make a really good impact as far as that as well.
Oh, 100%, man. And this is a little plaque that I wanted to bring into the show today. I got this at the Cowboy Museum in Oklahoma at the Western Heritage Awards, and it's called The Code of the West. I freaking love this because I feel like it just it puts like everything we live for into like a little plaque. So I want to read out the points here, and I think you're going to agree with it, that this is what being a cowboy means. And should have been a cowboy to me is just this idea that, maybe you're not a cowboy, but you can live, these points here, whether you're a babysitter or you're a mom or you're a lawyer, whatever you do in your life. So first one, live each day with courage. Take pride in your work. Always finish what you start. Do what has to be done. Be tough but fair. When you make a promise, keep it. Ride for the brand. Talk less and say more. This is my favorite one right here. Talk less and say more. Remember that some things aren't for sale. And last but not least, know where to draw a line.
Pretty good. And you're right. Like, at the end of the day, should have been a cowboy. Being a cowboy isn't just slipping on the boots, putting on that nice felt hat, and walking out the door. It is walking around with a sense of right and wrong and just good morals, and having the ability to just be a good person that you've never interacted with in your life. Is even if it's as small as holding the door open for somebody, right? Like, just being aware enough to be a good person.
And exactly. And I think that is at the core of like what being a cowboy is, you know what I mean? All the lessons that we learned. The first few are just simple lessons that we learned from our parents, which is be respectful, hold the door for someone, say hello, sir, hello, ma'am, you know what I mean? Just little things, but that make a big difference. And I find that today, a lot of times we're losing that. And it scares me to know, like, where is the world headed when you don't have simple things like that, respect for one another. You have nothing. So I think I don't know if we want to do like 30-minute episodes. I don't know if can you see how
what are
long
we at right now?
I was trying to look here, but I can't see, but I feel like we're close to that.
I was kind of thinking something similar. I was like, I should have set a timer on my phone. Like when we hit the record and everything, I should have just bopped that on.
Set a timer.
But I mean, we got on roughly at 3, and it's 3:33 right now. 3:33, baby. That's a good set of numbers right there. If you don't know what that means, look it up.
This is what my computer just says, November 3rd, 3:33. So that's,
dude, that's crazy. Right, if that's not good omen, right here, right now, brother, I don't know what is. And you know what?
I don't know what.
Being able to slow down in life enough to look at something like that and just take a moment of gratitude is huge. If you haven't done that in a while, I recommend you do. Good things will happen. When you can slow down enough to recognize a small win, good things happen for you.
Amen, brother. And the universe
Amen.
sends the signs, man. God, the
Mhm.
universe, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes we don't listen. We're too busy. Okay, so to wrap this up,
Mhm.
great freaking first episode. If you stayed with us to this point, thank you. And guess what? It's only going to get better.
Whoa, whoa,
Can we get
whoa.
one of those, like the beginning of every DJ Khaled song?
The best music. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out
And
this
to
long,
finish off,
guys.
yeah, thank you. But this is an idea I had, Cole. When we finish every episode, let's ask our guests, if they are cowboys, if you weren't a cowboy, what else would you be?
Great question.
And if they aren't a cowboy, we should ask them, like, if you were a cowboy, like, what kind of cowboy would you be? Would you be like a rodeo cowboy, or are you just a rancher, or are you just, a two-stepping son of a gun that
Yeah, just a
goes to the
honky
bar?
tonker.
So, Cole, you are a cowboy. If
Mhm.
you weren't a cowboy, what would Cole be?
I had about three things pop into my mind, but
Isn't everyone?
the one that hit first was a pro surfer.
You know what's funny? I knew that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah, you
100%.
did.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, and
You
that's
know the
something we're gonna
love.
dive into next episode. I'm gonna interview Cole, so make sure you listen to that whenever it comes out, because this guy's had a phenomenal life. You judge a book by its cover. You see him there, with his dirty Sanchez mustache, his beautiful felt hat, his "I love hot rodeo moms," hoodie, and you think this guy is just healing beef all day. But no, although he is most of the time,
Mhm.
he is a box of surprises. He's lived a very full life, and he's one awesome cat. So listen to the next episode, because I'm going to interview Cowboy Cole.
Hell yeah, boys. Like and subscribe. Fun times ahead. Should have been a cowboy.